Welcome to another episode of Kidney Corner. I'm your host, Waleed Rahmani, a fifth-year adult nephrology resident at the University of Calgary. Here at Kidney Corner, through the Canadian Kidney Discoveries Network, or CKD-N, our mission is to interview leaders in the field of Canadian kidney research, showcasing their work and insights, while fostering a sense of community among Canadian kidney researchers. In our first episode, I had an opportunity to have a discussion with Dr. Norman Rosenblum. If you haven't already, you can watch my interview with Dr. Rosenblum by visiting our website at www.ckdn.ca. But today, I'm thrilled to present our second episode of Kidney Corner, and joining me is another distinguished figure in the field of nephrology, Dr. Tomoko Takano. Just a quick little introduction for you, Dr. Takano. She obtained her Doctor of Medicine and PhD from the University of Tokyo. She also completed her postdoctoral research fellowship from Harvard University and McGill University. And now Dr. Takano is a nephrologist, a professor of medicine, and a senior scientist at the McGill University Health Centre. Her research focuses on the pathogenesis of proteinuria and nephrotic syndrome, and her work in podocyte biology is internationally recognized. She has served as the chair of the CSN Scientific Committee in 2016 to 2020, and the local organizing working group for the World Congress of Nephrology in 2021. She is also a strong advocate for the role of discovery research in nephrology and was a founder and co-lead of the Network of Canadian Fundamental Kidney Research, M3K, previously M3K, now CKD-N. And of course, importantly, she's also our president-elect for the CSN from the years 2022 to 2024. Welcome, Dr. Takano, and thank you for being here today.
Pleasure.
The first question is, so as president-elect for CSN, what do you envision accomplishing during your term as president, and how do you plan to achieve these goals?
Yes, it's really a big question, but as you may have noticed, the CSN is really growing and expanding its activities, and there are so many things that needs to be done. But the term of 2 years as a president is very short, and I really need to concentrate on certain things. So the CSN is currently undergoing strategic planning. It's not finalized yet, but one of the missions will be the thriving community. And that's what I'm planning to concentrate, focusing on particularly two things. So the thriving community is that the CSN has to be really thriving as a community. And one aspect I want to strengthen is the AGM, that's an annual general meeting. So this meeting is already very strong in clinical education and providing continuing medical education, and it's a great venue for networking. But I'd like the AGM also to be the venue of scientific exchanges and the opportunity to learn the advancement of knowledge, both in clinical and basic research. And I think with my background as a clinician scientist and basic researcher, this is what is expected of me, and I'm sure the CKD-N will have a great role in here. And the second focus will be to strengthen the organizational structure. So the scope of CSN activities is really expanding rapidly, and for the CSN to grow as a socially responsible society, we really need to have a sound and sustainable structure, which I'm planning to work on.
That sounds like your focus is on the community, the network, and strengthening. I guess this kind of leads into to our next question. As one of the founders of previously known M3K, the first network for Canadian discovery researchers in nephrology. Network, as we said, has been rebranded to CKD-N. It'll be the first time the scientific meeting will be held in parallel with CSN's AGM this May. How do you see the goals of the CKD-N aligning with the broader objectives of CSN and the advancement of kidney care in Canada?
Yeah, it's another great question. And I think to answer this question, probably it's best to explain how MC3K was established. Probably not everybody knows. So a very strong desire to form a network of kidney basic researchers in Canada has been there for a long time, at least 20 years. It's been there always. But the nucleus of this M3K started when I met with Dylan Berger, Todd Alexander, and Lakshman Gunatlam in Washington during the ASN, just before the pandemic. So it was 2019. And I still remember I was the chair of the scientific committee at the time, and CSN actually kindly provided a venue in a hotel and refreshment for this inaugural planning meeting. And ever since, CSN has been very supportive to the actions of the M3K, including providing substantial funding. But they did have only one condition, that is that the basic researchers will eventually reintegrate themselves to the CSN community. So that's how the M3K planning started. And so initial M3K meeting, Diran and I were planning was in December 2020. Of course, that had to be postponed because of the COVID. And instead, we held a virtual planning meeting and then virtual scientific meeting in 2021. And then in 2023, it's only last year in the spring, we had a very successful, memorable in-person meeting. So all through these, the CSN sent representative to the meetings. And it's this great success of this in-person meeting last year that convinced the CSN to have this joint meeting for the first time this year. So in a sense, we have come full circle to join forces with the CSN. And so I think the goal of CKD-N and CSN will align very well. That is to advance kidney research and with an eventual goal to improve kidney health for Canadians and perhaps beyond.
How do you envision CKD-N evolving during your term? Are there, like, kind of looking ahead a little bit? I know it's still early and you've been there from the start. How do you envision the next 2 to 3 years looking like for CKD-N?
Yeah, that really depends on the leadership. So the overwhelming message we received at the very first PI meeting was that everyone really appreciated this sense of belonging to the community and their identity to be part of this M3K / CKD-N. Mm-hmm. And since then, we decided to take this golden conference style, that is to switch leadership every year. So, and probably it will continue this way for a while. So the first one was Dylan and me, who really started it. And then Kathy and Elena, who had an in-person meeting. And now this year, Emmanuel and Murita are organizing this joint meeting with the CSN. But everybody is bringing different things. And as we go, I think things are really expanding as I see. So this year, not only that this joint meeting is planned, this publicity, so the rebranding was one big accomplishment. And then the publicity committee in this interview series is one of the activities. So every new leader is bringing in new energy and idea and making CSN CKD-N to evolve and expand. So I'm confident that this will continue. And we are a relatively small community, and we should really avoid taxing a particular individual too much to the point of exhaustion. Rather, we want to rotate so that everybody can bring in new energy, new passion, new ideas, so that we continue to grow. And ultimate goal is really, as a CKD-N community, we want to accomplish something big, like connecting the biobanks, for example, in Canada, or applying for bigger funding opportunities. So I'm looking forward to this year's Matthias Kletzler's invited lecture and following PI summit, so that we can discuss these potential bigger projects. I think it takes a few years to build these big ideas, and I'm hoping that we'll get there eventually.
No, definitely. I think the community's there, it's small, and there seems to be energy and excitement, and it's just fostering it and nurturing it in that direction. So, yeah. You recently published some excellent work in Nature Communications on the dysregulation of the B-cell response and transcriptional signature in idiopathic nephrotic syndrome. This work really exemplifies some of the strategic priorities highlighted by CIHR's Institute of Nutrition, Metabolism, and Diabetes, specifically accelerating discovery by using human data and team-based science. So congratulations on that. My question for you, Dr. Takano, is how, over the course of your career, how have you adapted your research program to the new landscape of biomedical research?
To me, the transition, or rather adaptation, came very naturally, because for me, finding the pathogenesis of idiopathic nephrotic syndrome, or rather MUHC disease, has been my professional lifetime passion. I was always telling myself that if I can get to the bottom of it and learn the pathogenesis before I retire, I will be a happy retired person. So, and it was very obvious that the target was podocyte, but the insult comes from the immune system. So I decided to find a collaborator in immunology. So I started to collaborate with Dr. Chiro Pichirillo, who is a really hardcore PhD immunologist. And believe it or not, it took me almost 5 years to convince him that it's an immunological disease, because there's no immune cells in the kidney. But finally, he was convinced. And around the same time, I built 2 biobanks, knowing that we have to study the blood cells, immune cells of the patients. So one was a local one, which I established with my colleagues at McGill. The other one is with Dr. Susan Samuel at Calgary. She has this observational cohort of children with the nephrotic syndrome. And together we got the grant and we built a ChildNeph. It's called ChildNeph biobank. So these 2 biobanks were really instrumental in obtaining samples that are good enough to be analyzed. So transitional adaptation, I would say that it was driven by my passion for need to know, nothing else. I didn't really think of a strategic shifting, anything like that.
Yeah. No, because I speaking to some established nephrologist or even scientists, like I could see sometimes it's always hard to shift to these new tools, techniques, collaboration. So it's always nice to see that and output come out from that. And so what I hear is collaboration, and then human data biobanking is really a big piece of that. And I'm looking forward to having more and more of these results coming out of these biobanks. We have one big one here in Calgary and one out east and from in your group as well. So looking forward to sort of some of the discoveries coming out from that. And as president-elect, what would be your message for trainees and young Canadian investigators regarding the future of discovery-based nephrology research in Canada?
Well, I'm not sure about president-elect, but,
Okay.
me as a person, perhaps.
As a person, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what I always tell younger people is to pursue what you think is interesting to you. I know that humans can maintain passion only when we find what we're doing interesting. If it's not interesting to you, your passion will not last. And in that process, find good collaborators, or rather work with people you like. And that's also very important. And they usually become your lifetime friends. Be bold and try to adapt to new technologies. Don't fear, even if you don't understand everything, you can always find somebody who can guide you. In my case, I was really guided by my immunology colleague, collaborator, and a super talented graduate student to go through this complex immunological study using single-cell RNA-seq and bioinformatics. I was not comfortable in any of that, but only working with these people, I was able to go through. So, but the good thing is that I wasn't really against adapting high-tech things. I was open-minded. I just needed help. So be bold and just adapt anything new. I think that would be my last piece of advice.
I think, bringing in CKD-N into the AGM and hopefully giving that sort of publicity will attract some of the more young talent. And thank you, Dr. Takano, for that lovely conversation and your insights and expertise with us today. Your work is truly impactful, and I'm confident that your leadership will continue to drive advancements of nephrology research and care. And I look forward to the first CKD-N's incorporation to AGM this May. And thank you for joining us on Kidney Corner.
It was my pleasure.